Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Should You Bother. Today, we're covering the second episode of Last of Us. We just finished it here tonight, and it was another great episode. I'm going to be talking about some spoilers in this video. I will put a timestamp on screen when that starts, so everything is spoiler free up until this time, and I'll make it abundant clear that we're going into spoilers. So this episode was very good once again. Another open that was great, and this episode I got a lot of the action, a lot of the infected that we've been wanting from the show. So I'm going to give this a score right away, and I'm going to maintain the A level here. I think the first episode was stronger, but I think it was probably because it had an extra 30 minutes. We got the amazing intro, and we got a lot of the story building, the world building. It's really hard to follow an episode like that, especially when you don't have these dramatic changes in the world like you had in the first one. So, again, they stick very true to the games. There's great acting from all three of the main actors. Pedro Pascal feels like Joel, and I've stopped seeing Pedro Pascal now, which is very good. The first episode was kind of hard for me to not see Din Djarin or like all of his other characters. It was kind of just Pedro Pascal there. I was seeing the Viper from Game of Thrones, but now it's Joel, and he's done it very very well, and he feels like Joel. They do change more in this episode than I felt they did in the first one. There's some pretty important moments where they don't change how the moment happens, but they change the context of it pretty dramatically. But it still works. There's definitely some substituting. There's some pretty big things in the games that aren't appearing, and I think they've kind of switched out with something else. But again, this has been very, very good and gives me faith for other video game adaptations to come. You still don't need the game. I still think this stands alone on its own very, very well. And just the fact that they're able to capture this destroyed post-apocalyptic world the way they are, and there are some that moments that do look very CG, but for the most part, it's all very good and very passable. There hasn't been a moment where I'm like, that looks really bad, but it's been very very solid. I'm very impressed with the show in general. And that's all I really have to say. If you don't want to hear more about the episode, definitely watch this one. If you like the first one or you haven't seen either episode, I would still highly recommend the show for anyone who likes post-apocalyptic things at all. It's done very well. All right, this is the point where I'm gonna move to spoilers and talk about specific things that's happened in this episode. I might revisit episode 1 a little bit because I didn't do a spoiler section for the first episode. But in this episode, they changed some context pretty heavily here. Um, they definitely hit the important things like seeing your first clicker. Clicker's design was near perfect. My wife doesn't know anything about Last of Us. When she saw that zombie, she was looking at it crazy. She was confused on why it wasn't dying in one shot to the head, and then when she saw Joel say like he can't see, she's like, oh, and it kind of all started making sense or clicking. And it was really cool to see her reaction to it because she was kind of like looking around like this isn't normal zombie stuff, and this is kind of the unique part of The Last of Us that I really enjoy is how the zombies work. We still don't see any spores in this episode, and I don't think we're gonna see spores at all in this series, and if we do, it'll be very brief. I think it kind of makes sense for a live action TV show. You don't want to see the actors covering their face the entire time. And I think it kind of makes the fungus a little bit, I don't want to say overpowered like a gaming term, but like if you go down there and breathe it and you're done, it's kind of hard to portray that and make that meaningful in a show. So I think we're going to see this. I could be wrong. I'm playing the game right now. I don't remember it. I'm pretty far into it, but the fungus, if you step on it, it alerts the whole horde of fungus zombies. I don't remember that being a thing in the games, at least not in the first one. I haven't played the second one all the way through yet. I'm working through that now, but I don't remember that. But I think that's their kind of substitute for the spores to make them more dangerous. But so far it's working, and I don't really mind that spores aren't there and that they can't breathe in certain areas. The other big thing they changed is how Tess dies. So she got bit in this episode just like the game, and I think she gets bit in the skyscraper that we don't go to in the show, but we go to it in the games. But either way, she gets bit on the journey through the museum in the skyscraper like she did in the games, and reveals at the state house once all the fireflies are dead. However, I really like the change that they fought off themselves after they got sick and infected, rather than Fedra. In the game, Fedra feels a lot less intimidating and a lot less cool than the zombies. It made sense in the game because you want to shoot people, and it was kind of a different change in combat after fighting clickers. But I liked it in the show that they changed that it was zombies and that all these zombies rush, and Tess, rather than dying in a shootout, she ends up blowing up a ton of zombies in the whole state house with her. I gotta talk about the zombie basically kissing her, and that was bizarre. if for someone who hasn't watched the episode and then watches, the only way I can say this is a zombie with fungus on his face walks up to Tess as she's trying to light her lighter against the pole and literally kisses her with fungus going in her mouth, and she just takes it. It was bizarre. Like, it didn't take me out of the episode, and I wasn't upset by it, but I was just looking at like, this is gross and this is weird. I couldn't stop looking at it, but I really wanted to stop looking at it. I just don't know how I feel about that. That was bizarre. She ended up lighting the lighter and killing all of them anyway, so I guess it didn't matter. But to watch that, I'm like, what in the world? If I was dying and sacrificing myself, there's no way I stand there with my mouth open and let that zombie fungus down my throat. No, 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 no. I don't know how that worked. That was bizarre. Ugh. But we start seeing more of Ellie and Joel. You'll see Joel look at his watch after Ellie doing something that he finds relatable or something like he can see a daughter doing. You see him constantly looking at his watch and thinking of Sarah. And they pulled a scene from the hotel lobby directly from the game that made me so happy. I believe the hotel is later on in the game, but it doesn't matter. She's calling for a suite when someone take her baggage up, and Joel's just looking at her like, you're a weird kid. And I love that. That was my favorite moments in that part of the game, so I was really happy to see that in the show. This show is doing such a good job of being a good show and staying true to source material, but giving things to the game fans and making them feel included in this, and I'm just loving it. So, any moments that you stuck out to you in this episode, let me know in the comments, because I want to talk about this show with everybody. This show is one of the coolest and most exciting shows I've watched, probably since House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, and I'm so excited for it. I hope we get a lot of seasons. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I'm very excited. So please, please, please let me know what you enjoyed in the comments here. Be sure to subscribe. I'm going to do one for every single episode, and once the season's over, I'm going to do a longer video just discussing the season as a whole and comparing it to other zombie things. Definitely stick around, and I'll see you in the next one.